Yes, guys, you know what time it is. It's your boy David at the Irish Hotspur, Ireland's #1 Spurs fan, bringing you yet another transfer roundup. And basically, it's just to keep everybody sane throughout this whole January transfer window with a lot of these rumours flying about. And of course, we are joined by resident Tottenham transfer expert Matt Hayes, who, you know, he will tell you what's true, what's not, and he will keep you sane. And of course, Sean from Spurs Talk Show, becoming a regular on this channel. We start with Matty. Matty, how are you keeping, my man?
I'm all good, David. Like I said yesterday, it's my time of the year. I'm absolutely loving the transfer window, and I'm absolutely delighted to be back on with you two as well today.
Definitely. What is it? Jack calls you Matty Hazy or something like that. Absolutely.
It's Fabrizio Romato or something.
Fabrizio Romato. That's it. I love it.
I enjoyed
that. Absolutely love it. Honestly, and you know, anything that this guy Matty says when it comes to transfers, club news, it's a given. 100%, it's a given. And Sean, my man, how are you keeping, brother?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Yeah, it's been a busy day, but been just sitting back, and now it's time to listen to you guys, and I'll just chime in where I can. But always happy and pleasure to be with you guys today.
No, and look, you have an excellent bit for us at the very end. A bit about, you know, apparently Tottenham, Levy going out to the Bahamas, and you know, potential rumors of a takeover a bit earlier on in December and stuff like that. And Sean's done a bit of digging, so we'll find out what he has to say. Before we do get into the transfer rumors and the news, let's get into the chat and see who is in here to join us. We have Daryl Denton says, when the ball hits your head and you're sat in row Z, that's Traore.
Yes.
Love it.
That's good.
Love it. That is brilliant. And we will get into the
What a way to start. What a way to start.
I love it, man. I absolutely love it. Brilliant, Darren. And we will get into the Traore rumour because it does look like this is a deal that will be happening. Abdul Bukhari says, hope you're all keeping well. Tough week, but we've got to stay positive and trust Conte. Come on, you Spurs. 100% echo that message, my man. 100%. Big yourself up. Adil. Zoe says, good evening, lads. Day 2 of the transfer fund. Looks like Adama is close. I really hope we get a striker now with Sonny out and Kane's ankles. Come on, you Spurs. Come on, you flat cap army. Well, look, there's a lot of reports linking us to Kulusevski, Dejan Kulusevski from Juventus. So that could be a potential replacement. But we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see what Matty says on that. Chris says, evening, David and Jack, and big up everyone. No, it's not. It's Matty and Sean today. Jack is actually flying back from Seattle to New York to get back to his home place. So that's why there's no Jack on today. Dara says, evening, lads. Big up, Dara. Hope you're keeping well. Sue Up says, son injured will give a huge blow to the team. Gillen Bergwijn won't do a thing. Just hoping Harry Kane should be stepping up the most. Well, my man, you're taking my first question out my mouth, but we will get on to that. Give me 2 minutes, my man. Mark Swift says, hit that like and sub if you can, and get your super chats in too. Big up, my man. I really appreciate that, Marky. Thank you. Dietrich Kane says, the fact that reports are saying we had a 50 million bid for Diaz rejected, but we can't spend 70 million on Vlahovic. We will get onto that in our fraud section. So we will get on to that. Big yourself up, my man. William McKenzie says, big up, boys. Woke up angry, so I've gone to work. Have a good day, people. Big up, William. I hope you're keeping well. Don't be angry, my man. Do not be angry. And Spurs is cursed is saying, Spurs is cursed. Fair enough, my man. Fair enough. Pero Miguel Escobardo says, good evening, all. Big up, Davide and Jacko. Big up, Paro. I hope you're keeping well, tuning in all the way from Lagos, my man. RAI says, Gillen Bergwijn are like a flush toilet. Fair comment. We'll get into that. We will get into that. Who else have we got? We've got Adam D in the house. Luis Diaz for 50 million is not a wise investment. He is worth 36 million. Interesting. Adam Clark, Tottenham on tour, says son out for a month. Time to finally buy the backup striker. We'll wait and see. We'll wait and see what Matty has to say. Greg Bowler says, big up, David. Good news about Levy being stateside, meeting with American businessmen to bring some finance into the club. If it is true, hopefully it is, so we can go big in the summer with 7 or 8 top players. And we will get into that because I think it was Gianluca Di Marzio, if I'm correct, did mention something like that on Sky Sports, that we will be looking to go big in the summer. Catman Jess says, Harris Flat Cap Army, big up to all of you. What a great show on Tottenham Tantrum Goal with Mr. Perryman. And I want to echo that. Fair play to the boys. Absolutely fantastic show with Steve Perryman. Absolute brilliant. Kept me going while I was doing all the research for this stream and everything else. And a big day for the channel, and they've done an excellent job. So big up Tottenham Tantrum Goal. And those who have missed it, I did link it up in the community section of the channel. So just click on that and you can go over and check it out. Wayne Bonner in the building. Big up, Wayne. I hope you're keeping well, my man. He says, why haven't we signed 15 new players by now? What are your thoughts on this Traore business? Wayne, honestly, cracking debate between Brian Daigle and Benji on We Are Tottenham TV today about this. Brian Daigle's already getting frustrated, 7 days in transfer window with no transfers and stuff like that. And Ben is calling for calm and patience. Very fascinating debate. It was absolutely brilliant. We will get into our thoughts on Traore in just 2 minutes. Wayne, I'm just going to keep welcoming people in, and then we will address your super chat if that is okay with you, big man. Big up, Wayne. I hope you're keeping well, my man. Isan Khan is in the building. Big up, you guys. Big up, my man. And he says it's awesome to see Matty again. It is great to see Matty again, and it's great to have him come crawling out of his wardrobe. I think Matty must have been in Narnia for a while, but he's back here now, and he's loving life, like he says himself. He comes out of hibernation. This is his time. Moondog says, good evening, David and Co. Steve Perryman, legend. Big up, Moondog. Good evening to you, brother. I hope things are well with you. And Steve Perryman is certainly a legend. He definitely is a legend. It was a great chat and conversation that they had. And it was kind of nice to have him commentating on an old game as well. It was very good. I really enjoyed it. George Hill says, pick up yourself up, lads. Love seeing Matty and Shawnee by the past few days. No, it's great, isn't it, my man? It is great. Big yourself up. Big yourself up. Look, I do pride myself on picking the best panels in the business, to be honest with you. So, Georgie, it's just another one that I roll out. I mean, you could just expect it over here. It's a given at this stage. Like Harry Kane scoring goals, Big Boss Man says, woo! Did enjoy Brian Daigle getting roasted on We Are Tottenham TV. I don't think all these on and made some great points. It was a great debate, to be fair. I can actually understand both sides of the argument, so I can.
So can I, mate. And you know where I sit on the defence normally, but I actually see both sides of the argument as well. So,
it was deadly. Coco says, I just want Marcelo Brozovic for Spurs. Look, I'm not one for bursting people's bubbles, but that's not happening, my man. It's just not happening. Aglaya Kakarat, it's good to see you in the building. I hope you're keeping well. Get your proper number back so we can get you back in the group chat. You're missed. She says, just watch Steve Perryman, club legend on Tottenham Tantrum. It was fabulous. It was an absolute great show. It was brilliant. And like I've already said, anyone that does want to check it out, community section, the link is there. Go and watch it. Diffie, I'm just going to call you Diffie or Dick. I'm still not sure what Conte play in Son's position. I don't think Conte really will rely on Gil. We'll wait and see. We'll get into it. We will get into it. I don't want to give anything away. Luca 14 says we're only signing Adama to be Brian Hill's personal trainer. Yeah, that's not bad.
Why not? That's a good reason.
That's a damn good investment, if you ask me.
Damn good investment, yeah.
Maybe you ship him over here too. Brian Maguire says, any word on Bob Hotspur? The last I heard is that they just have to keep putting him on his side and on his back and stuff like that to alleviate pressure in his lungs. And apart from that, man, I don't know too much more. I actually do have to get in contact with Brian Daigle and find out more, Brian. Joseph says, let's go, panel. Son being injured is bad. We really need another striker. Give me 2 more seconds. Welcome a few more in, and then we'll get going. RN is in the building. Big up, RN. Ian Ferguson's in the house. Chris Agenbar is in to join us. Soyon Doritos here. Spurs 72. Big yourself up, my man. Also here to join us. David Bristol. Forrest Lee, billionaire. Hold that talk. Wait to the very end of the show. Shawnee's in on this. He's all over it, my man. All over it. We have Aaron Dove. Big up, Aaron Dove. Good to see you in, my man. It's good to see you in. Crypto Pritch Gaming. The truth sets you free. What a legend. Phil Latis is in the panel. Great show, Phil. Absolute great show, my man. And we also have Andy Midge. What a man. Big up, Andy. Everybody, make sure you smash that like button. Smash that subscribe button if you are new. Share this stream out to all your Spurs fans and friends. It's well worth it to watch. And also, feel free to get your super chats in with questions for the panel. And they always lead to great talking points as well. And welcome in Stephen J as well. He says the soothing tones of Matty Hayes back on your screen. Great start to 2022. Come on, you Spurs. Definitely is. And we also have Blade in the building as well. But look, let's get into it. I know so many people are ready to punch their screen saying, shut up and just give me the news. So here it is. Antonio Conte has admitted that Son Heung-min could be out of action for a number of weeks through injury. The South Korean international played 79 minutes of the EFL Cup semi-final leg defeat to Chelsea in midweek before making way in an apparent tactical substitution. However, ahead of the Sunday's FA Cup encounter with Morecambe, Conte revealed to reporters that Son is carrying a muscular problem and could be absent until after the next international window. He says it was a strange situation against Chelsea. I made 2 substitutions together, Lucas Moura and Son, not for injury, their sub, but to try and give them 15 minutes of rest. Conte said to the press conference the day after Son felt a bit of pain in his muscle in his leg and he had a scan. Now we have to make the right evaluations from the doctors. He's injured. I don't know, but probably they could stay without training until the end of the international break. So it looks like he is missing for a number of weeks. And look, we'll start with Matty on this one. Matty, how big of a blow is this for us, especially with Chelsea, Arsenal, Leicester now thrown in there? And we have players at the club, Gill, Bergwijn, can they step up? And also, can Harry Kane step up and provide the loss of goals from Sonny?
Well, look, I mean, you touched on it there, but there's no worse time for this injury to come because we do have 2 games left against Chelsea this month. We've Arsenal and Leicester in the Premier League as well. It's a very important month, and we needed to have all of our players available, even if it was just for depth. But in terms of strength, obviously, Son is such an important player for us. And Alistair Gold, I think, looked into it and he said he understands it's a hamstring injury, and there's actually a fear within Tottenham that he could be out for up to 5 weeks, which will bring us, right into the middle of February. It's a massive blow, and we've seen at Spurs in the last 2-3 years that kind of without Heung-min Son, the creativity in the team is halved, is a fraction of what it usually is. And given how much we're struggling on that already with Heung-min Son, even in the team, it's a big blow. And I'm going to be honest, I can't say I trust Harry Kane to carry us through this time. I can't say I imagine he'll step up and get 2-3 goals a week across 2 games. That would be obviously I hope he does, and it wouldn't surprise me if he did. But in terms of expectation, I don't think it will, because he's just 10 times the player with Son in the pitch, and without him, I think that a lot of that service is gone. And I'm kind of worried about what's going to come up in this month. I mean, I saw some tweets saying, look, it's in some way it's a bonus because Son needed a rest. It's upsetting that it's coming this way, but maybe long term, and looking for hopefully a strong end to the season. It could be there could be a good part to a very bad story, if that makes sense. This is a huge blow, and it could possibly get worse.
That's not news I wanted to hear, Matty. That is not news I wanted to hear. But look, thank you for the update, my man, on that. And before we move on and get Shawnee's thoughts, William Kelly says, "Go on, Matty, deliver the bad news us Spurs fans expect, as we know what Levy and Lewis will deliver. Nothing. Levy's child contacts her dad and tells him to get his finger on the trigger before the Irish goes over there and delivers a left hook with devastating effects." So look, we'll let you address the first part, and then we'll let Sean take the second part. Big up, William. He's never going to let you live it down, Sean. But Matty, William Kelly wants you to be the bearer of bad news, my man.
I don't think we'll get Kulusevski. I don't think we're going to get a good enough centre back. I don't know who we're looking for in centre mid, and for a lot of fans, it'll be bad news that I think we will get Adama Traore. Hopefully, that's negative enough for you, William. I do my best.
Big up, William. And William, I want to see you on the fan show this Monday, my man. Make sure you get on with me. Shawnee, Levy's love child. What do you want to say to William?
I've had a word with my dad, and we're going to go for Adama. We're going to try and get Christian Eriksen on a pay-as-you-play basis once he's proven his medical records. And apart from that, I've also got a bit of good news later on, William. So just hang around for the information regarding the Bahamas trip, because I've done a bit of digging around with this Forest Lee fella, and there is some really interesting information that I found out about him and where he is right now and stuff. So we'll save that for later. So I appreciate you continuing the Levy love child.
No, absolutely. No, I think it's brilliant. I mean, fair play, William, man. It's catching on. Everyone's calling him Levy's love child now. I hope you and Luke had a good New Year and a very good Christmas, my man. Don't worry, tell Luke that hat is on the way. So it is. Do not worry about that. And William Kelly, really appreciate the size of the donation, my man. Really, really, really appreciate it, my man. It's no need to go that big. It's a monster one, my man. Absolutely. Really appreciate it, brother. But look, Sean, what's your thoughts on this Sunny news? Matty now reporting it's a potential hamstring injury and could be 5 weeks.
Yeah, look, mate. So I'm someone that I try my best to see a glass half full, right? If I'm someone that supports Daniel Levy more than most, you have to try and acknowledge the kind of glass half full approach. And it's obviously devastating if he's out. The positive things that you could take from it, if there are any, right, is that Sonny's been really poor of form of late anyway, and there's certain goals and certain opportunities that could have materialized into other things for Tottenham had his first touch been there. Or because I think that Sonny's been right off the pace, right? So if he hadn't been there, if one of the other players that would usually take his position maybe had have been, who knows what might have been. So it's not like we're losing Sonny when he's at the top of his game and he's been banging them in and pulling us out of a bad situation. So if there is a time to lose Sonny, maybe now's the right time to do it. Albeit I know that the fixture list is pretty piled up. What I'd also say is I'd rather lose a forward than a defender. I'd rather lose Sonny. We have more cover up front at the moment. We have more options when people are fit. If Steven Bergwijn can get fit, in the one game that he played before he got injured, he was pretty good. I think it was against West Ham. He was on tip-top form. Brian Hill coming on for cameos here and there, and he's looking like he's someone that's engaged. So there is opportunities. There are options for us. Obviously, like I say, trying to make the best of a bad situation. I'd much rather hear that Sonny was down for 5 weeks than, say, Sanchez right now or Reguilon or Emerson Royale. Like, if we heard that there was a monster injury coming to another defender, or Romero went away again, Romero breaks down in training and he's off for another 2 months. If that news came out, I think that would be more compounding of the bad news than Sonny. It's not great. Nothing's good news about this, but if you're trying to find something to be optimistic about, then I feel like we have a little bit more positive cover in those areas than we do at the back. So I'd rather let him go down than someone else. But that's about as good as I can say about it, mate. It's not positive. It's not the best timing. And yeah, it definitely needs some sort of papering over cracks. Whatever Daniel Levy can do, if he can bring in Adama, Traore or somebody else to come in and help us out now, we need it because it's a big month and he's a big loss. Yeah, no, he is. He's an absolute huge loss. And look, even though he hasn't been playing well, he's still been chipping in with goals and stuff like that. But do you know what? It's time now for Brian Hill to step up, show why he's been waiting in the wings, come in, make a positive impact. Steven Bergwijn reported today by Conte that he will be back soon. Apparently, he's had a word with Bergwijn and he'll be back soon. I don't know what's going on there. Yeah. But, it's time for him to come in now, step in and have a positive impact. Maybe Dele Alli could also step into that role. It's time for him to come in if he gets the nod, which I actually think there could be potential for that to happen, because Conte today has challenged Dele Alli to take his opportunity against Morecambe and confirmed he will be starting. So it'll be very interesting whether he sees something a bit more in Ali and whether he actually thinks Ali could be the guy to step in here. But it's also time for Harry Kane to step in. I mean, Son carried it when Harry Kane wasn't feeling too well at the start of the season. So now it's time for Harry Kane to step up. And it's now time for Harry Kane to step up and deliver the goals while Sonny is out. I mean, that's why we pay him. So it's a big opportunity for Kane now to right some wrongs as well, and maybe endear him back into some Spurs fans' hearts that maybe let down at the start of the season. I just want to say, truth sets you free. Geezer is a good term, and he's not having a crack at you whatsoever. She's saying she's bigging you up, man, saying, bigging you up basically, my man. But big up, truth sets you free. Big up, truth sets you free. Wayne Bonner says, which pre-contracts do you think will sort out this month? Matty, do you think there's any potential that could be happening?
If there was one that was going to happen, I'd put my money on Frank Kessie, but I think we're looking at strongly prioritising a centre-back and a striker, and maybe even a centre midfielder, and we don't really have any concrete links on that just yet, so I would not be surprised if, over the summer at Brian Hill, where Paratici was working on something behind the scenes, and all of a sudden, one day, it's this player we've never heard of, and we get a here we go from Fabrizio Romano or something. So with the players that are out there at the moment, my leading contender for that will be Frank Kessie, but there's any player that you think is out of contract, there's potential with the way Paratici works.
Well, there you have it, Wayne. There you have it. And there's an extensive list floating around. Geez, there must be about 100 players on that list, Matty, of potential pre-contract signings that you can make, Wayne. So, look, there's definitely potential for it. And I wouldn't be surprised to maybe see some of them throughout this transfer window, to be honest with you, Wayne. But, Wayne, I know you're definitely hoping for a couple, that's for sure. And Wayne's very reasonable with his transfer window. He wants 2 signings and maybe 1 or 2 pre-contracts, and he'd be happy with that window. And that's a reasonable window. Yeah. So big up, Wayne Bonner. Big yourself up, my man. Moving on to the next bit of news that's the one in Bahamas. We'll get onto that very, very last. With Alistair Gold, he basically, I was listening to his YouTube channel earlier on, and he said that Spurs have made 4 positions priority during this month's transfer window. He said there's a feeling within the club that Spurs need a right wing back, a left-sided centre-back, and a striker. And from what he understands, Conte agrees with that, but would also like a central midfielder. So 4 priority positions. And we'll go to Shawnee on this one first. Is 4 positions realistic to expect to strengthen in a January transfer window? And would you say we have the capabilities, the funds, to be able to fund a 4-player transfer window in January?
No, I don't. Yeah, no to both. I think that, I think most people are on the pessimistic side of what is possible. I'm still going to hang on to my optimistic view, but I still think that 2 positions, and even if there were 4 players identified to fill those positions, the money isn't there to be able to throw the right money at the right players. You're not going to throw 100 million in this window, and I don't want to see what happened with the Bale money, where you throw 20 million or 10 millions here and there to kind of barely improve what you have just to fill the numbers because the opportunities are there. I'd much rather focus on a centre back and a right wing back, or a centre back and a centre midfielder. I think the striker situation, although of course because of the Sonny problem, it puts a little bit more need and a little bit more focus on that gap now. But I still think that we need a centre back is more worrying for me. Over the last couple of weeks, the injuries or the suspensions, or the COVID issues that have cropped up have highlighted how kind of vulnerable we are at the back. I still, like I said at the start, if you're trying to see something from a positive light, I still think we have a little bit more quality up front than we do at the back. So for me, if there are positions available, I still think the money that will be available should only be spent on 2 players of quality, 1 at the centre back. And then I don't mind if you want to go for the right wing back or the central midfielder, but the centre back for me is the number 1 spot we need to bolster in this January window. I don't think 4 can happen. 2 is realistic, but make sure they're good players.
Interesting. Good answer, Shawnee. Moondog says, David, I love you, man, but please don't mention Ali. No, look, the only reason why I say it is like listening to Conte talk about saying that about Dele Alli, it just kind of makes me think, is he challenging him? This is his time now to come in and, help the team. Look, I don't want him to be given another chance. I've stated that many, many a times, but looking into what Conte was saying, I just wonder. That is all, Moondog. But believe me, I'm not changing my opinion on Dele, that's for sure. But Matty, would you agree with Alistair Gold that with the 4 positions he mentioned, is there any other that you think we could strengthen in? And is it realistic to expect 4 players this window?
No, I think 4 is a bit of a stretch, and I agree with Shawnee there that 2 is realistic, 3 is possible, but 4 I think is beyond the realms of what Tottenham can achieve this summer or this January, unless there are going to be some big departures, and I don't really think there will be, because we can look at, as Romano said, Tottenham trying to find a solution for Tanguy Ndombele, which I think we all know what that means. They're going to try and move him on, looking to let go of Matt Doherty, and I know we'll talk on some other reports about the players that were willing to let go, but I think there will have to be a couple of departures, including one big one, if we really want to reinvest enough money to not only to get players in those 4 positions, but to get players that we can actually have in our team long term. Because there's no point in signing a centre back just for the sake of signing a centre back now, if we're going to have to improve upon that again next summer. So exactly. I don't think 4 is realistic. If we can't get rid of Ndombele, I'm sure there's an Italian team or a La Liga team out there that will be willing to take him, but will we have our valuation met in January, which is typically a more difficult window to actually do dealings. I agree that those are the positions we need to bolster immediately. So we get those 4 done, and we probably have to get 3 or 4 more players in the summer anyway. So I think the feeling within the club is there to try and get that done. But it was Pochettino said it when that 18 months when we weren't signing players. He said that there's no point in signing a player unless they actually bring something to the club, unless they actually bring some sort of improvement, whether that's in depth, like a striker we may be bringing in behind Kane and Son, or if it's bringing in a right back to actually have a bit more end product. I'm not sure. I'm not sure that's going to be solved this window.
Yeah, look, I can't see us doing 4 signings this window. I can't see us strengthening the whole squad. I think two players, I think, is a realistic target to maybe expect this window. You're never going to get it all done in the January transfer window. Ever, ever, ever. January transfer window is about patching up gaps and trying to steal a deal where you can. That's what the January transfer window is all about. I think 4. I'm glad that they've identified 4 positions, but I think 4 is a bit too much to expect. William, no, go on.
Is that okay? I just want to ask both of you. Do you think that the Sonny injury, I know that he's not like for like, but do you think it increases the likelihood of Adama? Because Adama obviously could play right wing back, or we could put him on the right side of a 4-3-3 up the top, right? And then maybe you can shift Mora onto the left. You can get a bit more versatile with Lucas. Do you think that the Sonny injury makes the Adama transfer more likely or less likely?
We'll get onto that in a minute. We'll answer that in a minute. That will be
sorry.
coming up next. No, that is coming on the next. No. Good. I like what you're thinking, though. I like your thinking, my man. William Kelly says, if we are relying on Ali and Bergwijn, then God love us, we are fucked. Yeah. You know what? I agree. I do agree with you. I don't see either of them stepping in. But you know what I do hope, William? Is Gil Messi. I'm a true believer. I am a believer. You know, when I saw his face, when I saw his face, I said, I'm a believer. You know, no,
this is not what I signed up for.
No, I love the kid, honestly. My hope is that this kid can step in and step up and really prove his doubters wrongs, William. I'm not relying on Ali Bergwijn. I mean, we've already given him time, games before to turn it around. Can't trust him. Give me Gil. That's where I'm at right now, William. That's where I'm at. Big yourself up, brother. Big up, William. Wayne Bonner says, do you think there's any truth in the free contract talks stalling and that he'd welcome a new challenge if it came along? I was going to save this for Fraud Watch. To be honest with you, Wayne Bonner. I'll just give a quick little on it. For me, I think his agent is using Tottenham to get the money he wants out of Inter. I've also seen other reports, and I will get onto it, where, do you know what, screw it, we'll just get onto it now, Matty. We'll give Wayne on what he wants. So, look, Wayne, the reason why I say this is this morning I woke up, there was a newspaper, O Jogo from Portugal, and it was also reported on a local news channel that it was on Noticias TV that Spurs made a 60 million offer for Porto winger Diaz. The bid, however, was refused as Porto are only likely to let him leave for something closer to his release clause, which stands at 80 million. He has 14 goals and 5 assists for Porto this season, and he was the top scorer in the Copa America playing for Colombia last summer. But look, there's no truth in this whatsoever. My opinion is on that, and we'll get Matty in to kind of hammer the nail home here. But we are being used by Porto. Liverpool is the one that has been constantly linked with this guy. They're huge fans. We're being used by Porto here in the press and in the news to be able to try and draw more money out of Liverpool. Then you see the De Vrij rumour. There was a similar one with Rudiger today. Someone reported apparently every single day Paratici is on the phone to Rudiger to try and get him to come to Tottenham because his contract is up at the end of the season. And Chelsea haven't offered him the money he's wanted. Same as De Vrij. Inter Milan hasn't offered him the money they've wanted. But both reports state that they are open to renewing their contracts at parent clubs. And it's a bit like what Matty was saying could have been happening with Perisic yesterday. Matty, any rooms, or is this like just fraud centre all over?
Yeah, I can't see any of those moves you mentioned happening. I mean, with Luis Diaz, a very, very, very talented footballer. I don't think that comes into question at all. But if Tottenham have 60 million euro to spend on a striker, that's going straight to Fiorentina. It's going straight into their bank account. I don't think there's any two ways about it. With De Vrij, I think it was Alistair Gold came out today and said a number of those targets like De Vrij, like Romagnoli, like Matthijs de Ligt in January. There's absolutely no chance of that, which I think we kind of expected anyway. But the only hope that I kind of hold on to with players like this, and I mentioned the same about Ivan Perisic yesterday, is that these players have, they've been around the game, they've won. De Vrij has won everything there is to win in Italy. Some of these players, they want a season or two in the Premier League because it is whatever you want to say about the quality of us compared to the giants of Europe, the Premier League is the best league in the world, and these players know that. And these players may have just, even if it's a swan song at the end of their career, get a year or two in the Premier League, going to a system that with people that and Antonio Conte and Fabio Paratici, there is the potential for something to happen there, and that is the hope that I am holding on to. But in terms of actual the links that are out there now, and in terms of reliability of those, I think you can ignore them beyond any doubt.
Interesting. So there you are, Wayne Bonner. Look, from what I mean, I'm no expert at this, so I just started kind of doing this the last couple of days. But when I look at some of these reports, and they always kind of give that option, well, there is room for him to negotiate his contract with his parent club. For me, it just screams being used, to be honest with you. Same as the Diaz deal, scream being used. I mean, we weren't linked with this guy before it. It was all Liverpool, and all of a sudden, we've come for a bit out of nowhere. I just thought, nah, I think we're being used there, Wayno. But when it comes to the vrij one, I definitely don't think it's happening. Look, there's potentially he worked with Conte, but I don't know, I don't know. At his age, does he want to make the leap to the Premier League right now? I'm not sure, Wayno. William Kelly says, get ready for great quality coming in January, like Gedson Fernandez. Sean, you're Levy's son. Can we see more like Gedson Fernandez and Vinicius coming in?
Listen, we looked at the list last time we spoke about the January transfers that Tottenham have made over the last 7 or 8 years, and 60% of the January windows have had 0. The only good player we've ever signed in the last 10 years in January, I think, has been Lucas Moura. So, listen, if we're going to sign people, I can't imagine we're going to sign anybody, a huge name that's going to satisfy most people, but I'm still optimistic. We're going to have, we're only 7 days in, 3 weeks in, or 3 weeks to go. Let's all, sit back and just keep our bollocks crossed that we have something to celebrate at the end of January. We definitely need some support, right? But I don't think it's going to be Godson or Gedson Fernandez. Let's be honest, William.
I thought you were going to say keep your panties on.
I know, sorry.
When you said keep your bollocks crossed,
I don't know when I get. The second it came out of my mouth, I was like, I'm on a live stream. I can't say that.
That doesn't sound pleasant.
No.
Sorry.
Move on. Hilarious. Big up William Kelly, big up Wayne Bonner. And Faz Radfar says, if Doherty plays for us again, I will give up. Yeah, look, I don't want to say any more of him. I've just had my wits end with the guy. He's not good enough. He's not at the level we need. Ship him out as soon as possible, Faz. That's where I'm at with it. I can't be dealing in it anymore. And I'm at with some of these players too. Stop giving them chances. Get them out as soon as possible. But big up, Faz, my man. Let's get back to where we were before Wayne Bonner steamrailed the show. Absolutely love it, Wayne. But ESPN has reported that as many as 6 current players, well, they did say stars, but I'm not going to say stars. I'm going to say players, could be sold in the coming windows, including the midfield trio of Dele, Gio, Tanguy, Stephen Bergwijn, Matt Doherty, and Jaffrey Tanganga. They also face uncertain futures. Matty, from what you know and stuff like that, is there any truth to this rumours? Can we? Are we listening to any offers for some of these players?
I think we are for some of them. I mean, Dele Alli is one player that a month ago we were told was being told to leave. His agents were looking for clubs that he could go and join, and then after one good performance against Liverpool, all of a sudden Conte wanted to keep him, and he was in the plans, and he was getting chances like that. And I think that could be the case for every single player that's on there. I mean, that if they have a few good performances, as they've had the chance to do with the COVID outbreaks, with the injuries we have at the moment, with the game against Morecambe on Sunday, I think we will get players getting their opportunities to kind of turn that around. But I'm sure Conte has already identified those players that he wants to let go, and I wouldn't be surprised if a few of those are on the list. I mean, I think I'd actually be very quite surprised if Stephen Bergwijn doesn't end up going to Ajax this window. I think that's one that's probably done as soon as Ajax are trying to sell David Neres to Shakhtar Donetsk, and then we're going to try and get Adama and let Stephen Bergwijn go. I'd be very surprised if that series of events doesn't happen. But I think it's one that those players, if we get the right offer, we will let them go. But there may be players not on that list as well. If we do get a good enough offer in there as well, that we will be willing to listen to those. But in the same breath as what I said earlier, needing to let players go to get players in, I'm not sure if we will make a lot of sales this window. in anticipation for players coming in, because it wouldn't be particularly surprising. And it's the history of the Tottenham, as Chiellini said, where we can let players go and then not really get other players in. And then all of a sudden we're left in a situation where we're lacking depth, we're lacking numbers, and fitness becomes a big issue as we have so many games to make up from the earlier stage of the season with all those postponements. And I saw another report that said Tottenham aren't willing to let any players go because of nobody knows what's going to happen. I mean, we could have another COVID outbreak. It may just be a case of waiting until the summer to really get all that big business done. And I think I said this yesterday, but I'm not a fan of that, because if we're planning on have a really big summer, let's say, for example, we want to get like a Griezmann or a Dybala, or we want to get a De Vrij or a De Ligt or a Romagnoli, whatever it is, the one thing that's going to swing those players in our favour if they're sitting on the fence is if we have Champions League football. But we're not going to get Champions League football if we don't make enough investments in this window. So I think it's a really, really awkward circle that Spurs are in right now, where we have to sell to get players in, but we have to know we can get players in before we can sell. And we want to do it in the summer, but we have to do it in January if it's going to work in the summer. And it's a big, massive mess. And it doesn't help that Daniel Levy has waited till the 7th of January to fly out to the Bahamas. But hey ho.
So Mexican standoff, isn't it?
Don't get Shawnee started yet. But Shawnee, you know, any of them players there, is there any that you actually think we should keep and try and get more out of until the summer? And what ones do you think we should listen to offers for?
I'm with Maddie at the moment. I think it's a Mexican standoff. January is always, you've got 4 weeks and no one wants to make the first move. No one wants to sell before you can buy. No one wants to buy before you can sell. And it's a game of chicken, I guess, between the chairman. And I'm terrified of Tottenham selling before they can buy, because then you're held hostage anyway to the prices that you would have to pay, or the loan deals you'd have to structure, because the chairman know how desperate you are. Tottenham, and like to Maddie's point, with COVID's always just a breath away from ripping 4 or 5 players out of your squad, and we just don't have the availability in players to be able to handle anything like that, let alone injuries. So if there was any way if there are going to be transfers coming and going, I think we need to buy before we sell, or loan in before we loan out, anything like that. And in terms of those 6 names, look, Matt Doherty's the one that's easiest on the list to get rid of. I don't mind getting rid of Dele Alli, but at the same time, like with Sonny down, I think you definitely need to have someone who's a bit more creative, that even though none of us trust him, on his day, when he's up for it, he is someone that can still offer something. And I think Japik Tanganga desperately needs to go on the job. He can't learn on the job in a Tottenham shirt anymore. His performance against Chelsea was, at least in the first 25 minutes, was really uncomfortable for me to watch. And I love the guy. So I think he needs to go out on loan to somewhere like Norwich in the Premier League, where he's not going to be a threat to us, but where he can get some real life experience and he can make his mistakes in a yellow shirt rather than a white one. But at the same time, our defense is so depleted. You can't let that happen until you get someone in. So for me, any of the departures have to start with players coming in. If there's no players coming in, then for me, no players should be going out. I think I'm hopeful that players are going to come in and then we can have the conversation. But if there were players that for me, the priority list or the list of preference of who goes out first, Doherty first, of that list, Tanganga second. And then I think the rest, Dele Alli and stuff, are only going to be sacrificial lambs once we get players in, because right now we can't afford to lose those players until we have the backup.
Yeah, spot on. And Matty, do you know if there's any truth to the rumours linking Tanganga to AC Milan?
Well, the rumours that I've seen are from Daniele Longo, who I think is about as reliable as a piece of tissue you find in the street. But I can give you
very specific.
Are we ready for an exclusive, right?
Yeah.
Tanganga was on his way to AC Milan. He was on his way to Milan, but he was turned around at customs because he found Danny Rose in his suitcase, trying to force through that move from 2 years ago. So I'm afraid that one may be off.
I actually thought we were getting exclusive. You know?
I'm sorry.
I like it.
Very nice.
We will be moving on to Adama Traore now in 1 minute. But Spurs72 says, what's your guys' thoughts on the striker in Belgium, De Ketelaere? And I actually really like this kid. Also, do we have any other real potential striker targets? Well, Matty, I mean, there's no other person that this is for but you.
Charles De Ketelaere is an absolutely incredible footballer. I love him so much. I watch a lot of Club Brugge at work because I have to. And there's some very talented players in that team, like Hans Vanaken, Noah Lang as well. I think are players that if they were potentially on the move, I wouldn't be too opposed to Tottenham having a word. But De Ketelaere, he's not really your typical striker. He's not particularly tall, but he's really good in the air, which I think is a good trait to have. Kind of a bit. Yeah, it's a bit like Lucas Moura. You don't think he'll beat you with a header, but all of a sudden he's 2 feet above you, and Joachim Andersen is on the floor crying. But De Ketelaere, he's so skillful. He has such good chemistry with the players around him that you kind of imagine it's a natural thing for him in terms of fitting into squads and kind of whatever system is needed. I think he does probably not get the credit he deserves over there because Noah Lang is just such a talented player. I said before Ketelaere was better, but that was just me trying to big up a Tottenham transfer target. Noah Lang is fantastic, and I feel De Ketelaere can to some extent go under the radar there. But he's such a good player. He's good in the air. He's clinical with the ball. He has an eye for a pass as well. If this is one that Tottenham went for, as I said the first time, it was rumored. I'd love to see it happen. Now I haven't seen any reliable rumors on it yet, so I'm not going to get too excited. But if that is something that materialized, I'd be an absolutely massive fan of that. Other striker targets, I think it's just the same as every other position. We're still waiting for some concrete links, but I'm sure they'll come sooner rather than later.
He's 6'3", right? He's a really tall fella, isn't he?
Is he 6'3"?
Yeah, he's 1 meter 90, which I think is 6'3". So
I think he's 6'3".
we need someone that tall up front. I've been saying it for ages.
He could be our answer to Pavlyuchenko.
Yeah,
Pavlyuchenko.
Finally getting someone in.
But no,
he's deceptively tall because he doesn't look like that. He's like really good with his feet in the ball, and like he's proper talented when
like
with
Peter
the ball
Crouch.
like Peter Crouch.
Maybe a bit better, but yeah.
Well, I'll take him then because I love Peter Crouch. I love Peter Crouch as an option on the bench with Jermaine Defoe next to him. I'd love if this guy is anything like Peter Crouch, or if you think he's better, then I'm all for it. Bring the man in.
100%. And Wayne Bonner, he was as curious as Matty. He says, keep our bollocks crossed.
Yeah, it's just a phrase. It's a phrase that we used to say in the investment banking world when you'd make a decision that was a flip of a coin, and then you didn't know whether you were going to make money or lose money. You'd always say, just keep your bollocks crossed and see what happens. And it was basically saying it was a painful version of keep your fingers crossed. But yeah, I shouldn't have said it on a live stream. So I
love it. Absolutely brilliant. And Dark Sun G said I would take 7 points of 9 from our next 3 Premier League games. I would take your hand off for that right now, Dark Sun G. Chelsea, Leicester, Arsenal. I'd snap your hands off for it right now. I think that'd be a very good return, especially with Sonny being out injured now, Dark Sun G. I'd say you're absolutely devastated, my man. Like us all, to be honest with you, we're all absolutely devastated. I mean, Sonny's a huge part of anything that we're trying to achieve this season, and to have him out, it's a huge loss, my man. But big up Dark Sun G, brother, and I really appreciate the support. Really appreciate it. But look, we're going to get into it. We're going to give them the one they do. Everyone does want to know about, and it is about Adama Traore. And for me, I actually think this is one that will happen this January transfer window. Rumours is that we are closing in on it. But the Telegraph did report today that Spurs transfer, and they call him Supremo, which I absolutely love because I call him the Don. Fabio Paratici has open talks with Traore and Wolves about concluding a deal this month. It is believed Wolves would accept 20 million for the pacey Spanish star, who is yet to sign fresh terms at the Molineux. Traore is 25. He is yet to register a goal or an assist this season. However, he is apparently viewed as the ideal wingback in Antonio Conte's system. Reports earlier in the week had suggested that Tottenham might even offer Matt Doherty back to Wolves as part of any deal to sign Traore. However, that is completely supposed to be wide of the mark, and they do just want the cash. But look, you know, Adama Traore, he should be. Should we be looking at this deal, Matty, a bit differently? And I want you, first of all, I do want you to confirm, you know, whether you do think it's definitely going to happen or not. But the reason why I say should we be looking at it a bit differently in terms of many people, and me included, said, look, I don't really want the guy. There's no end product. I've gone back. I've thought about it. Adama Traore, when I've watched him against Liverpool, City, Manchester United, some of the bigger teams, he has given them single-handedly a hard day at the office. You know, Liverpool, Jurgen Klopp described him as undefendable. Jack Grealish, when he was playing with him against City, Jack Grealish had some strong words for him. Is he potentially that we could be signing to be a big game player for us and give us a different outlet in these big games?
It's a very interesting point. And it kind of ties in with a point that I hadn't thought of, but one where if you look at where he typically plays for Wolves, it is in that right wing position, whether it's in a 3-4-3 or a 4-3-3. But to my memory, there's one game where I can remember him playing as a right wing back, and that was at the Etihad a couple of years back, and he scored twice for Wolves in a 2-0 victory there. Two of only, I think, 7 Premier League goals that he's actually scored for them. So in terms of playing in that position and big games, well, immediately there's a good little guide to have a look and see what he could possibly do. But I still don't think that really eliminates the worries that we're having, because look, he plays 12 games against the top 6, unless he's missing every single season, and that return doesn't really come very often. I mean, again, only 7 goals in the Premier League for Wolves. It's a point we're thinking about for definite, and we know we need to rotate. We know we need different players to suit different systems when we're playing different teams. And he's one who is a bit versatile and can play a bit further back or a bit further forward. But I was on my live stream earlier, and I got a super chat from Josh King, who we know from We Are Tottenham TV, and he made the point that Fabrizio Romano has said that if we sign Adama Traore, we will then be willing to sell Stephen Bergwijn. And then Sammy Mockbell was saying, we don't want to let Matt Doherty go, and he made the point that maybe that suggests Adama Traore could be coming in as a right winger. If we want to keep our right wing back and we're willing to let go of a right winger if we do sign Adama Traore. Now, if that does happen, I think it's the most ridiculous way we can approach this situation, because I was talking with Kulusevski on here yesterday, and I was saying why he suits this Tottenham system so much is he's that kind of Metzala type of player, where he's a bit of an inverted winger, a left-footed player on the right-hand side. He likes to come in narrow. He likes to pick up those little pockets of space, and that is so perfect for Spurs, because we like to make the pitch really, really narrow, so our wing-backs then can bomb forward either side and have a lot of time to pick out what they want to do. And if you're bringing in Adama Traore to play in that position, well, he thrives when he's hugging the touchline, getting the ball and just running past whoever's in front of him. And then all of a sudden, there's no room for the right back to get forward. There's no room for, if it is Emerson, but if it is Doherty, to actually contribute to the attack. So I think if he is coming in, it would have to be as a right wing back. And in terms of the likelihood of this one, I think this is a deal that's going to happen. I think it's going to be Tottenham's first signing of the window. Yeah. I think it's very clear that he is our number one target, but I don't think Matt Doherty will be going the other way, because the ITKs on Twitter on Tuesday night made it seem as though it was a done deal out of nowhere that Doherty was going back to Wolves. And I was speaking to a lot of people on the Tottenham side, on the Wolves side, and there are some people with like some sources like that who do think that it was likely, but there's others who said it's not going to happen at all. And I even tweeted out on Tuesday it was difficult to gauge the likelihood of the move because of that. And it's looking, with every day that passes, that it's less and less likely to actually have Doherty going the other way. But I think Adama will be a Spurs player by the 1st of February.
But there you have it. We have the Hazy Go, probably a week earlier than what the deal will be wrapped up. So there you have it. Adama Traore will become a Spurs player this window. Brian Daigle in the building. He says, good evening in the chat and the wonderful people. Matty Hayes. And he says, big up the Irish Hotspur. Brian, when am I going to get my own song, my man? You still haven't given me one. And he says, of course, my arch nemesis, which definitely made me chuckle, Sean Butler.
I love you, Brian. What's that supposed to mean, buddy? I love you, buddy. I love you, man. It's all good.
I do love it. Everybody, we do have a bit of a debate coming with Sean and Brian February 1st over Daniel Levy. Sean, of course, is pro-Levy. Brian is anti-Levy. So it'll be very interesting to hear both points. And Brian, stay tuned, because at the end of this, we will be addressing Levy's trip to the Bahamas. So do stay tuned for that. I'm pretty sure you'll enjoy that. Wolves F1 FI says, do we accept that? Accept what, my man? What? I don't know what we're supposed to accept.
Yes, we do. Yes.
You just say yeah. We'll just say yeah.
Just say yeah.
Big up, my man. Big up. And Kuva99 says, spike the drinking water on Joe Lewis's yacht, grab the checkbook, sack the players, and buy up City squad, relax by the pool, and claim innocence. Sean, that's directed towards you.
Peak delusion, Kuva. It's peak delusion. I think, listen, yeah, we'll talk about what happens in Bahamas a bit later on. So bear with me, Kuva, and we'll come to it.
Bear with him. We're nearly there. We are nearly there, Kuva. But absolutely love it. And Kuva, I want to say congratulations again to you, Dermot.
Awesome.
Phil and Ben. Absolute great show. Huge guest for you. Coming on as well with Steve Perryman. Absolutely buzzing for you. It went great. And it provided me with some great content while I was getting preparing this stream. So big up Kuva and big up Tottenham Tantrum Gold. And the link is, like I said, if you do want to check it out, the link is in the community section for anybody that does want to get over and watch it after. As well, we have 252 in the house. Make sure everyone keeps smashing that like button, smash that subscribe button if you are new to the channel for transfer and Tottenham daily news, match previews, reviews, player ratings, predicted lineups, watch-alongs, you name it, we do it here. Smash that subscribe button. But big up, Kuva99, my man. I really appreciate the support. But Sean, should we be looking at this Adama Traore deal a little bit differently? Like I said, and like me, I actually said, and I said this on We Are Tottenham TV as well, but the reason why he's not at a top club is because of his end product. But I have gone back and re-looked at the situation. He is certainly a player that can help us out against the likes of a Chelsea when we play United, when we play City, when we play Liverpool. Because single-handedly, he's a menace. I mean, Jurgen Klopp described him as undefendable. Jack Grealish from City has great praise for him. Should we be looking at this as a big game player that can help us, maybe like we've seen against Chelsea, that lack of threat that this guy can maybe bring in terms of opening teams up there?
So I think, I'm very much pro the transfer, right? I definitely want it to happen. I think he's going to offer quality that we don't have in positions that we do need an additional option. I did say a couple of days ago what concerns me about the deal with him as a right back, if it was Matt Doherty going the other way, is what that means for cover in the left wing back spot. What that means for cover, if Sessegnon comes back and gets injured again, then without Matt Doherty, if he's gone, then you're going to need to play. If Reguilon gets injured, you're going to need to put Ben Davies out on left wing, and then you're going to have to go to a back four. All of the kind of connotations of what a Traore transaction means if Doherty goes the other way. If Doherty's not part of the deal, then it's less complicated. And certainly, like I say, I don't particularly want Doherty in the club, but I'd rather Adama come in and a Doherty stay unless we've got options to find replacements in those other positions. What I would say, though, about a Traore transfer in is I feel like he would make us do what we do well better. We're still going to be like we're a very good counter-attacking team that can break fast, and having him in the option would allow us to do that better than we currently do it. I still don't think he's going to be able to solve the solution when teams sit back against us. So I don't know if I think that Tottenham need to find an attacking solution to when teams sit back. I don't think Adama's going to offer that option particularly. So I'm still very much up for it. But I think, like I said, I think it's just going to improve us in areas where we're already solid, and I don't think it's going to offer us any improvement in the areas where we're weak on an offensive platform.
Interesting takes there from the two boys. And Matt, this is what panel tonight, gents. There's levels, then there's levels. And I mean, this is what I was saying earlier on, man. Pick the best panels in the business. Always do and always have done and always will do and continue to do so, my man. I'm a genius at it. Paul Markey, though, and we'll leave this one with Matty. He says, a Traore deal is typical of Spurs' poor selections on other targets. We won't get them as people responsible are sitting on their thumbs as others are acting in the transfer window.
I understand the frustration with Aston Villa and Everton both getting a couple of deals done and starting their transfer window really well, but I also think it's kind of unfair to gauge how we should be doing based on the two teams that are doing well, rather than the 17 other teams that are doing the exact same as us and haven't yet made a signing or haven't yet any concrete links to players. Of course, I wish we were like Villa and Everton. I wish we had Adama Traore signed up. I wish we had Vlahovic. I wish we had all these players that we're targeting. I wish they were done on the first day of the window so that we could get them that chance to bet into the team. But realistically, that's not how it works, and it's never really how it has worked in any transfer window, especially the January one. So I understand the frustration, but I don't agree with it, if that makes sense. With regards to the poor selections, I mean, at the end of the day, it's a different team at Tottenham making these signings now. It's a different team that is identifying these players and trying to get deals done now. So I think we'll have to wait and see how these pan out. I think it's unfair to judge the new people based on how their predecessors did. I think if you want to look at Fabio Paratici and his time at Juventus, yes, there are signings there that did not go well. I think you'll find that with every director of football or with every head scout or with every whatever you want to say Steve Hitchen was, they're going to have their poor signings. But Paratici behind him has a record of getting very big deals done. I mean, he managed to convince Cristiano Ronaldo away from Real Madrid, which nobody ever really thought would be possible. He's a man who can get deals done behind the scenes, can get them done quickly. He brought in Weston McKennie from Schalke within 24 hours, and none of the press knew about it. He's a man who can sign players for free, who can get free contract deals done. Just look at the list of players he brought in: Andrea Pirlo, he brought in Paul Pogba, Aaron Ramsey, so many other players that I can't even think of right now. He brought them in on free transfers, and he can also identify young players. You know, there's that famous story of him in a restaurant in Italy one day, and he was just scribbling on a piece of paper, and he left the restaurant, and afterwards the waiters went over and looked at the piece of paper, and he had the names like Mary Demiral, Nicolo Zaniolo, and a few others that nobody else had really known because they were playing in the lower leagues in Italy. I think Demiral was still in the second division in Turkey. So he really has an eye for a player and an eye for a signing in every single faction, every single demographic of player. And I think we need to put our trust in him. Yes, there are going to be dud signings. He's in a new league. He's only human. But I don't think if Paratici and Conte, if this is their number one target, I wouldn't call it a poor selection. Even though I don't think it's good, I gotta trust them.
Well, Matty Paul Marquez got back in the meantime, and he says Madrid favourites for Kessie now, Woolwich for Vlahovic. Need I continue?
Arsenal will not sign Vlahovic. I think it was David Ornstein who came out and said today that they're leading the race if Vlahovic leaves in January. I think that's his way of getting on the good side of Arsenal fans, saying they're going to sign a player in January if he leaves, when Vlahovic is basically himself already ruled out a move in January. He said he wants to get Fiorentina back into the Champions League. So I think that's Ornstein just playing the crowd and trying to get back in some good books. I haven't seen anything on Madrid for Kessie, but at the end of the day, if we did lose out to Real Madrid, I don't think we can really criticise Tottenham, because if you're Frank Kessie and you get an offer from Tottenham and you get an offer from Real Madrid, let's be honest, we're all choosing Real Madrid. If you don't have any affiliation to Spurs, and that's not our fault, because like I've said 100 times, that's a deal that AC Milan will not be willing to do this month. They will lose. They'll happily miss out on their 10-15 million to have their key player to try and win the league for the rest of the season. If that happens, I can't criticise Tottenham at all. It would be a bummer, and I'd love to see him join Spurs. And I'd hate if that did happen, but you know, sometimes you've got to bow down to the greater force.
Well, there you have it, Paul Markey. There you have it. There's Matty's answer on a good debate. And I love the way you put in another one just to kind of stick it to him. Big up, Paul Markey. Absolutely love that. We'll take the super chat from William Kelly. And then I do have two more things I want to get to Matty before we let him go, because he does have to head off. He's a busy boy in this January transfer window. Shawnee, William Kelly says, Levy's love child versus Levy's lost child. He cannot wait for the debate.
Yeah, listen, I can't wait for the debate as well. I wish we could have had it a little bit sooner, because what happens in January may cloud the overall debate, and the debate needs to be reflective of the 20 years rather than just the last 20 days. But I'm happy to do it whenever Brian's happy to do it, as long as there is massive structure to the debate, as long as I want it to be like a Daniel Levy on trial, right? And I'm the defense, and he can be the prosecution, and you can be the judge, and the audience can be the jury, right? And we can go through it as long as there's structure and rules, so that there's no passion that overrides manners and over talking each other and that sort of thing. As long as there's structure to it, it's going to be fascinating.
Look, it's what you get on this channel, structure, my man. We pride ourselves on it. Don't worry about that.
I'm looking forward to it. So February the 1st, everyone make sure you put it in the diary right now, because it might be like a Ghislaine Maxwell kind of court case. It might need to go over a couple of days, you know, and there might be some kind of weird things that get spoken about. So let's make sure you got a couple of days signed up for it.
No, I love that. Kuva99 says, thank you, David. Big up to you, Matty and Sean. Big up, Kuva. I appreciate that, my man. Big yourself up, brother. But Matty, before you go, I do want to talk about Kulusevski. So, as per speaking live on Sky Sports, Italian football journalist and transfer expert, I don't know whether you think he is or not, Matty, is a good source to rely on, Gianluca Di Marzio, says recently revealed that Kulusevski is one of the names on Spurs' list for potential signings this month, and that both Paratici and Antonio Conte like him, given that they all both know about him from the time at Juventus. Paratici was there, working there at the time, and Conte was managing as well. As per Gazette, and Conte was managing in the Serie A at the time, so he knows a lot about him. As per Gazzetta dello Sport, Paratici is now insisting on signing Kulusevski for the Lily Whites, as he is keen on offering him to Conte. They could also offer a player as part of a deal with Lo Celso, Tanganga, and Dembele, or Tanganga, names that have been mentioned. He's a 21-year-old and already playing at the highest level with Juve. He is a player whose stock is only going to get a rise, so he's not going to decrease in value. He's been described as lethal for Sweden by Swedish and Italian football writer Maxi Angelo, and has played for his country at every level, including at Euro 2020, where his 2 assists in a 3-2 win over Poland ensured that they reached the knockout stages of the tournament. And he also grabbed an assist against Spain in the qualifying. He has managed 8 goals and 10 assists in 2 seasons so far for Juventus. And Cristiano Ronaldo, when he spent time with him at Juventus, said he called him a great talent. Matty, with Son's injury, is this a deal that we should potentially keep a close eye on, and that could happen?
It's kind of annoying that this question is coming to me as William Kelly thanks me for the depressing news. There's nothing concrete about Kulusevski to Tottenham yet. I mean, Gianluca Di Marzio, I think I give him like a 7 or 8 out of 10 as a source. I know he's very, very close with Antonio Conte, which could lean either way, in that Conte gives him the news, or he can be used a bit as a mouthpiece for the club. If Parachi, if he wants to distract from a deal he's trying to get done behind the scenes, as he does do, Di Marzio then could be used as a bit of a mouthpiece for that, or again, he could have the good news. So it's kind of hard to gauge exactly how reliable he is on this one. Now, looking at the people who have said this is a deal that's likely to happen, or it's a deal that is actively being sought by Tottenham, there's Giovanni Albanese, La Stampa, Calcio Mercato, and Gazzetta dello Sport, who are, for me, as sources, are ones that if they say one thing, well, you can almost take the opposite as true. As a lot of those kind of Italian newspapers are. So I don't think it's one that we can sit here and say with confidence is going to happen, or say even that it's one that Tottenham are looking to do. But as I mentioned earlier, in terms of him fitting in at Tottenham, I think he's the perfect type of player, the perfect style of player, and he definitely has the talent, and age is on his side as well. There's a lot of good factors about bringing him in. There may be other players similar who are better options. They may cost a little bit more, but if we did get Dejan Kulusevski in, I think I'd be absolutely delighted with that, and I think he'd fit into our team very well. And he's a good rotation option for Lucas Moura. It would allow us to let go of Stephen Bergwijn if the Adama deal in itself doesn't do that. So it's one that I'd be excited if Tottenham did pursue it, and if I was picking targets that we've kind of seen already for that position, he'd be my number one choice in there. But I'm not getting too excited about it just yet, because it could just be another one of those deals, another name that's mentioned that we forget about in 3 weeks' time and nothing ever comes of it.
Do you know what? I really like this kid, and now with Son's injury, for me, I really do think it kind of makes sense. And this, for me, it's one I'd definitely be keeping an eye on. I know what you said about the sources, Matty, and look, I fully take that on board. I don't doubt you. But look, maybe with Paratici working at Juventus, that they might just be able to get something done for this kid. We'll wait and see. Sean, Kulusevski, is he a player you like?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, very much so. Love him. He's versatile, right? And he can offer all the things. I listened to what Matt said night before last. Was it yesterday or the night before last? About the idea of him being able to play on the narrow side of things. I think I've looked him up. I've done some research on him today and got a bit more familiar with him as a player. He looks like he's the real deal. Certainly looks like someone who can fit into a variety of different roles. And that's the thing I think we need, that Tottenham need. I think also Conte needs to be more willing as a manager to be able to, rather than fit the players to the formations that he likes, I think he needs to be a little bit more willing to fit the formation to the players that we have. And sometimes it's square pegs, round holes. You hear me say that a lot, Dave. And so, but I think that having players that are versatile and that can fit into certain areas. We have a couple of them. We don't have enough of them, and it looks like Kulusevski is definitely someone that can do that. He can add certain value across the kind of the upper third of the pitch, and so certainly someone. Yeah, I'll be very happy if we could make something happen there.
And he's a player that should tick Levy's box as well, because he has sell-on value. He's not going to lose his value. In fact, it's only going to get higher and higher. So it's one that should definitely suit. I have one more to ask Matty Hayes on. I just want to take this super chat from Dermot. Big yourself up. The head honcho from Tottenham Tantrum Gold. Thank you, David. Big up Matty and Sean. Can we please get Matty Hayes as the transfer man, David as his hit man, and Sean as the money man? Equal Spurs win. Come on, you Spurs. Look, Matty Hayes is already transfer man. He's the only one I believe when it comes to a lot of this stuff, and that's why I get him on here to help dissect it, help keep you guys, sane. Basically, Matty can say, look, don't bother wasting your time with this. Focus on this, and that's what it's all about. And thank God we have one of our own there to decipher through it. Me as the hitman, maybe on the football pitch, Dermot. Outside of that, I'm a big cuddly teddy bear, my man. And Sean as the money man. Look, he definitely speaks a good game when it comes to that sort of stuff, you know. But look, let's see if Brian Daigle can give him a run for his money when it comes to it. Let's see. I know Sean's already given him a run for his money when it comes to Levy. Let's see if Brian Daigle can do it when it comes to Tottenham finances. But big up, Dermot, my man, and I really appreciate support. And great, Sean. I'm proud of you, brother. I'm proud of you. Big yourself up, my man. But Matty, the last one I want to ask you about, if I can just find it here now, was Antonio Conte. In his press conference, he said, what happened this summer was not very good. Now to see him again already playing football is great news, and I think for Christian, the door at Spurs is always open. Could we potentially be looking at a return of Christian Eriksen to Tottenham, Matty? Maybe long term.
I really, really hate killing everybody's dreams when you ask me these questions, but not a chance. No, there's no chance.
No!
Look, I would love to see Christian Eriksen come back to Spurs. I'd absolutely adore seeing him in the Tottenham jersey again. I mean, him at his best is one of the best players I've ever seen play for Tottenham. But Gianluca Di Marzio has already said it's not going to happen. If you even want to look at kind of logically, we need a player to come in. Any player that comes in needs to be not willing, but capable of running, 10, 11, 12, 13 kilometers per game. Christian Eriksen at his peak was never really that kind of player. Who's more the ones who kind of like a modern day, deeper lying version of Berbatov, where he kind of coasts around the place and just pick up those pockets of space and be able to pull the strings from there. And considering he's been out of the game since the horrific events in June or July, fitness-wise, as much as he's working now, he's not going to be up to scratch for Tottenham. Maybe if he wants to come back and train at the club, or if he wants to comes in a coaching role after his career, possibly. But I really, really don't think that we'll see him in a Spurs jersey on the pitch anytime again.
Interesting.
Unfortunately, sorry everybody.
No, look, and Sean, I will get your thoughts in 1 minute on this, but we do have to let Matty go because, like I said, he does have to go somewhere. But Matty, just before we do, maybe you can get Sean's back up against the wall. But what do you think of Levy's trip to the Bahamas?
It's interesting. It's interesting for a number of reasons. Why now? Why wait till a week into the window? Has he not heard of Zoom? Is that something he's not able to use his computer? I think there's a more kind of logical ways of doing that. I don't know. It's a weird one, and I'd love to know what the thinking behind it was. But if it results in an investment into the Tottenham squad, I'm all for it. Whatever his outdated weird means are. But I'm not going to get excited about this until we start to see it bear a little bit of fruit in the window.
Oh, I love the way you said there's a lot more logical ways of doing it. I absolutely love that, mate. That is hilarious. But before you go, my man, there is 280 people in the house. Where can people find you?
Well, with 280 of you watching, I'm going to ask 37 of you to go over to Matt Hayes Tottenham blog and hit the subscribe button over there, because I'm 37 subscribers away from 12,000. So if there's 37 of you watching who aren't already subscribed, I do these shows very similar to what David is doing. Most nights I do live, post-match reactions to the majority of our games when I can, when work allows me. So it'd mean absolutely everything to me if anyone could go over and hit that subscribe button. One person already has, so only 36 more of you have to go and do that. But as always, subscribe to David, subscribe to Sean. They both deserve the support as well. And David, thanks for having me on. Pleasure chatting with both of you again.
No, look, thanks for your time, Matty. I mean, you don't have to do it, and you're very good. I know you're busy with work, and this is your time of the year. So honestly, thank you for your time. The link is here in the chat, guys. Just simply click on it, head over there, and smash that subscribe button. Matty, thank you very much for your time. Awesome as always, and hopefully we can get you on for more of these over the January transfer window, brother.
You absolutely can. Thanks a million, gents. I'll talk to you soon.
I'll see you, Matty.
See you.
Absolute brilliant there from Matty, guys. Absolute brilliant. Sean, I will get your thoughts on Christian Eriksen first before we go into Daniel Levy. We'll just catch up on a couple of the super chats. William Kelly says, this is my take on Spurs right now. Until the owners of this club are going to win, are gone, we will never progress. We have an owner that puts 0% of the money into this club. What would you say to William Kelly?
I mean, he puts 0% money into this club. Listen, I've said this a million times. I guess it falls on deaf ears, but at the end of the day, it's a business. There's absolutely no reason for any owners or any chairman of any club to ever need or should have to fund a football club by themselves losing money. It doesn't happen that way. It doesn't work that way. And in a world where it has worked that way, I can throw out half a dozen names off the top of my head of chairmen that have tried to do that and it hasn't worked out. People like Simon Jordan is a perfect example that made £165 million from the sale of Phones for You. He went and bought Crystal Palace for 20 million. He put, for 18 million. He pumped in 150 million and he got 18 million back when he left the club. That's the reason why he now works on TalkSport. He lost all of his fortune by doing the sorts of things that fans who don't understand maths and economics, and I don't mean any disrespect to you, William Kelly, but like, I'm not here to change anybody's opinion, but what I am here to do is come from a position of, with respect, esoteric knowledge of how financing works. I'm not an expert on football finance, but I am an expert on finance generally. I'm a master of economics, and I spent 10 years in investment banking before working for Google in the financial role as well. So I understand how money gets spent and how money gets utilized by wealthy businessmen in the right way. And I'll spend as much time as I need to educating people on the realities of business. And we'll do this over the conversation with Brian Daigle as well. But if anyone thinks that it was a bad decision for Daniel Levy and ENIC to take $1 billion loan to pay for a stadium rather than putting $1 billion of their own money in, then I'll happily build a video on my own channel just on that particular topic alone that shows the receipts of why it makes so much more sense and why Tottenham will be better off in 5 years' time for that decision rather than Daniel Levy, ENIC, Tavistock, Joe Lewis spending $1 billion of their own money. Like I'd implore you to just watch the information that I show you before you tell me I'm wrong or that I'm an idiot or whatever else, because there's logic and fact to what I'll tell you.
Now, I don't want to get too much into it because I do want to hear what you have to say about this whole Forest guy or whatever it is, Forest Gumpy or whatever you want to call him. But what I do want to ask you, Sean, is do you accept that getting into business in football, owning a football club, is a different sort of business where different rules sort of apply to it than any other normal business? Because I get what you're saying. I can understand where you're coming from, saying that you don't see why any owner should be willing to lose money. But do you not think with a football club that's going to be inevitable at times, especially because you have such a hardcore following, 60, 70, 80,000 that go week in, week out, and not including the millions all around the world that follow the club week in, week out?
Is it inevitable to lose money, or is it inevitable that they should lose money?
Do you think that football is a bit of a different business? Like I said, I agree with you when you say, no owner should really, accept to lose their own money going into it. But at the same time, should they not be prepared that could happen at times, because it's a different sort of business? I mean, there's people that have been and supporting this club through generations and generations long before the owners come in.
It's a different sort of business in that the customer base has a different level of loyalty, right? For sure. But it's no different as a business to several other industries. It's no different to most other live sports games. That's no different to NFL, no different to, there's different nuance, there's different variables, there's different structure to the system that makes different sports industries different. Certainly like the NFL or American sports have things like college systems and draft systems and salary caps, and they have franchises that mean that the fans in any particular place don't have the loyalty of a stadium. I can imagine that people would be even more upset in a world where there was certain fundings coming in, but there was no guarantee that Tottenham was going to be in North London in 2 years' time. If a big buyer came in and tried to move the club to a place that was more beneficial for the franchise, like imagine if it was Glasgow Hotspurs in 5 years, everyone on this channel would be furious, right? So, look, to answer your question, mate, it's different to like if you want to become a mobile phone operator. It's different if you want to open a chain of restaurants or a chain of, I don't know, hair salons. Of course, there's different nuances just purely because the audience or the customer base have a different level of loyalty. But it's not that different in terms of other global industries in terms of how to finance, how to make money. The fact that, you know, Daniel, and this is one thing I'll say, mate. So, you know, like I've spoken to Brian a few times on different shows. I know we're going to save the structure to the big one to this, but in recent weeks, I spoke to Brian, and we asked. There was 3 categories, right? I feel like if you're going to critique and evaluate or analyze the performance of someone like Daniel Levy to the level that Brian has done, where he is so vehement with his Levy out mantra, then you need to have, in my opinion, at least three criteria of topics covered within your understanding, within your analysis of that guy's performance, in order to have a complete and thorough, cogent argument that when I asked Brian, I don't think he had, right? And those three I know we're going to go through it, but the three criteria are: you have to understand what the guy, if you want to analyze whether the guy's done a good job, you have to understand what his job is. And that requires a fairly thorough and deep analysis of finance within football. And when I've spoken to Brian, generally, he's like, we'll put the finance aside and let's talk about the things on the pitch. And I'm like, okay. And a lot of people in the comments that I nick out are always like, yeah, I get the finance.
Yeah.
But, and it's like a yeah, but argument. And I'm like, well, you can't just say yeah, but. Like, you have to understand that. So in order to thoroughly evaluate, you have to understand that. The second thing I think that's really important is if you're going to evaluate Daniel Levy, you have to compare him to his peer group. So you have to be willing to look at what he's done versus the other 19 chairmen in the Premier League and potentially people in other European leagues. And when I've asked Brian about that, Brian's answer is always, I don't care about the other clubs. I care about Tottenham, which is fine. But if you're trying to analyze whether or not Daniel Levy's done a good job, it's important to know how he's done relative to other people that are doing the same thing, right? And the third thing that I've always asked him is, if you want Daniel Levy out, who do you want in? And he said the other day, not my job. I don't care. Like, it's not my job to figure that out, but I just want him out. And to me, the argument there is like, it's like a plane. Like, you're on a plane and suddenly you've lost confidence in the pilot because you think he's drunk, and you go, you know what, let's get this pilot out of here. And you put a parachute on and you open the door and you kick him out. And after he's gone, you then turn around and go, all right, who's going to fly the plane? And you go, well, there's no other pilots on board. So I feel like you need to have those three arguments figured out before you can call for someone to leave a position. And I feel like a lot of people in the comments who are staunch unique out there, I don't think they know that stuff. That's what, I'm not here to change people's opinion. I just want to come at this from, I'm not a 10 out of 10 Levy. I'm a 7 out of 10 Levy. And I just want to spend the time that we're doing this trying to make people realize that maybe not everything that they think is real, you know?
Do you know what it is? I think you make some great points, but I have to say, I think Daigle and Levy out people make the great points.
For sure. 100%
I really do. And I think the debate you and Daigle will be fascinating. I think it'll be fascinating. And I will put up a poll during it on basically where the people stand, you know, and be very interesting to see how it changes throughout the conversation and stuff like that. So very, very interesting. Just take a couple more super chats and then we'll let you into talk about Forrest Gump. William Kelly says, thanks, Matty, for all the pressing news. Always a pleasure. My man, William, I do apologize. I did get that to that late, but big yourself up, my man. Big yourself up. We have Kuva99. He says, why are we linked with Traore? Run, Forrest, run. Do you know what it is? I just think with Sonny's injury now, I think this is going to happen. It's been relentless in the media the last 2 days. And Matty Hayes also reckons it's more or less 90% going to happen. So I'd say you can say that will be confirmed. It will happen, to be honest with you, Kuva. And look, I agree. Look, I didn't want him yesterday, but then I've kind of looked at it. Against the likes of Liverpool, Chelsea, City, teams like that, they have had a lot of problems single-handedly handling this guy. And it could be a different option for us in them sort of games between now and the end of the season. So, look, we'll wait and see what happens, Kuva. Paul Markey says, well said, Sean, talking sense on this topic.
Thanks, mate. Not trying to convince people, just trying to show there's a different perspective. That's all.
He's on Levy's payroll. Levy's paying, Levy's paying him to be here to do this.
Doing my best, Dad. Doing my best for you, Dad.
Big up, Paul Markey. The bottom Duta says, what is a good amount to spend on this transfer window? And let's spend the 50 million without considering the money spent from player sales. Is that good enough, Sean?
I think that if the players are available, I think there could be 70 million available without having to spend. That's what I think. You're looking at the financial fair play. The rules haven't changed yet. I know that there's 400 million. People say that there's 400 million that Tottenham could spend over the next 3 years without breaching financial fair play. That's the absolute upper limit. And also that involves all of the fees, not just the transfer fees, but the agent fees, the salaries, any of those the signing on bonuses, all of that stuff. So if you sign someone that costs 50 million and that guy earns 200 grand a week and you sign him on a 5-year, that's £100 million deal, right? And that's not including certain, so if you signed an Ndombele and he was on 200 grand a week, he signed for 6 years and we paid 60 million for him. That's 130 million pound contract we spent on that guy, and he's sitting in the reserves or sitting on the bench doing nothing. And that would take up, 1/4, a quarter of the entire spending budget that the maximum that we could spend, and without being in breach of financial fair play. Daniel Levy's never going to push the boundaries that far. To answer your question, the bottom, Duta, I think that there's that's even dollars. You're asking dollars. So I think that there's 70 million that could be spent in January, and another 120, 130 million that could be spent in the summer. Maybe there's 200 million overall that could be spent, whether it's in January or whether it's in the summer. But all of that requires that, we continue to have maximum gate receipts. We continue to have, if there's any of those kind of issues, variables like COVID that means that the gates close down and there's no more stadium revenue, all bets are off then, because after that 3-year window, the 4th year is going to be affected by this year's revenue. So you need to make sure that the revenue this year is tip top and maxed out, which is another reason why when people complain about the cost of tickets, you want half price tickets, you get half price players. The money has to come from somewhere. So
I think some people would probably say they're paying for that now, Shawnee. I get it. I think some people would go against the contrary and they'd say, well, we're being overpriced for half price for the players we're watching. But again, look, I'll let Daigle make that point when he's on, my man. Kuva99 will take this super chat and then we'll let you into what you found out about Forest. He says, Sean, can you do a detailed financial analysis of Levy's Kenny play tomorrow? I'm not interested at all. I just think he can have enough weight to physically beat Levy with wild demand and transfer funds.
I love Kuva. He's so funny. He should be a comedian. He's a stand-up. He's like absolute genius, that guy with his humor.
That's what he should be doing. Do you know them late night Tottenham streams? He should be doing a bit of stand-up on that. So
100%. Big up, Kuva.
Big up, mate. My man. What a legend. Hopefully we can get it done for you. You know what I mean? Look, there's plenty of things you can use. Grab that broom brush, my man. Just slap him about with it. But big up, Kuva, my man. Big up. But Sean,
all right.
There was reports today about Daniel Levy traveling across to the Bahamas. Basically, for transfer funds, finding out what we can, what we can't do, what the transfer budget is at his disposal in January. And it comes after Tottenham manager Antonio Conte admitted the team's level had dropped in recent years following a defeat to Chelsea. The report states the pair have met on Lewis's luxury yacht to draw up a plan on giving Conte the best possible opportunity to make Spurs a more competitive outfit and to narrow the gap between themselves and the Premier League rivals. But also, there was rumours alongside of this that there could be potential investment as well, Sean. So what's your thoughts? Should this meeting have already happened? And do you think it already has happened and that this meeting is about the potential investment from Forest Lee?
Yeah, so back in December, there were rumours that Forest Lee, who is a Singaporean billionaire who owns a company that's now called C, right? It used to be, there's a couple of companies that he owns. One of them is called Garena, which is essentially like the Singaporean, it's a games manufacturer, a games developer, and they make the Singaporean version of a game called Fortnite, right? They make the Singaporean version of Fortnite. It's called Free Fire, and they've got 350 million players. They also have a second business, or he has a second business that he's the majority owner in, called Shopee. And that's the equivalent to anyone who does like e-commerce websites, anyone who's trying to sell, I don't know, flat caps or journal, whatever you're doing. Then if you're in Singapore, you're not going to use something called Shopify. You're not going to use WordPress. You're going to use Shopee, right? It's a Singaporean version of e-commerce platforms. So those two businesses are what this guy owns. And he is the majority shareholder in the business. And to put together, the company's called C now. So here's where it gets interesting. So back in December, I think December the 20th, December the 18th, there were rumors that were confirmed that he was being shown around and doing tours around the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium by Daniel Levy. The two are known to be close friends. And they and he showed, he joined him for a couple of games, I think against, I forget who the games were against at home, but long story short, the rumor mill was going that maybe Tottenham were going to get an investment. At the time, the rumors that were asked of Daniel Levy and Tottenham Hotspur were, are you going to sell the naming rights to the stadium, to this guy's stadium? And there was denials all around. Shoot forward now until this news has come out today that Daniel Levy has flown over to the Bahamas to meet Joe Lewis. And the rumors that are in the press are that he's going there to talk about getting approvals on additional spending.
Yeah.
Like to Matt's point, when you asked Matt, it doesn't make any sense for Daniel Levy, who's already a 29% owner or 28% owner of Tottenham Hotspur, to have to fly all the way to the Bahamas in the middle of the January transfer window to seek approval to buy players like Adama Traore. Doesn't make any sense at all. You could do that over a phone if he doesn't already have the autonomy and the authority to do that. What I think is that what he was over there for was actually a meeting to discuss a proper investment in the company. And I went away and did some research today. My brother lives in Singapore. My brother's a pretty high profile dude who works in oil finance. And he didn't know, but he asked around and stuff. And apparently Forrest Lee is also in the Bahamas at the moment. He's not in Singapore. He's not in America, where he lives half the year. He apparently is in the Bahamas at the moment on a vacation. But to me, when you start to, I could be adding 2 and 2 and getting 5, but that to me is a little bit suspicious, right? Is there more to it than we thought? And then I did a little bit more crunching of numbers. I did a little bit more research, and I found out that the company called C is actually owned 57% today. As of today, he owns 57% by this guy, Forrest Lee. But only 3 days ago, he owned 53%. The largest other shareholder is a company called Tencent Holdings. And Tencent Holdings is a Chinese company that is responsible for Tencent Video, which have just recently, last year, bought the rights to the Premier League in China. Bear with me, guys. Hold with me on this. They also own like WeChat, which is a social network thing over in China as well. From what I understand, having done some due diligence on this, and I could be, like I say, this could be wild speculation, but it's all coming together in my mind. From what I understand, C couldn't invest in Tottenham whilst the owner of Tencent, the other owner of C is Tencent Holdings, who have a conflict of interest because of their ownership of the Premier League. If you remember what happened with Newcastle United, the owners of Newcastle, or the new owners of Newcastle United, had to sort out and finish and pay a £1 billion lawsuit to kind of clear up any issues with their ownership of beIN Sports, who were guilty of piracy of the Premier League at the time. Yeah. And there's certain percentage holdings that you can and can't have if you want to make moves on certain ownership of football clubs. And as far as I'm aware, Tencent Holdings, and I looked this up a little while ago, Tencent Holdings, according to Bloomberg, they sold 5% of their holding in C. This is Forrest Lee's company, only 3 or 4 days ago, which meant that because of the compression in the share price, Forrest Lee his total fortune went from $15 billion down to $11 billion as a consequence of the pressure on the share price by this company selling the shares. But it took Lee's ownership from 53% up to 57%. But because Tencent's holding of the company now is below a certain threshold, it actually makes C legitimate, gives them a legitimate ability to invest in a Premier League club, despite the fact that one of their other shareholders also has invested in the Premier League via their Tencent holdings. So I'm adding 2 and 2 and 2 and 2 and 2, and I might be getting 25 or I might be getting the right number. But it seems to me like when you look at the relationship between Daniel Levy and this guy, Forrest Lee, the fact that apparently Forrest Lee is in the Bahamas at the same time as Daniel Levy has been asked to fly out there to meet Joe Lewis when it's not necessary to do that, just to get approval on certain budgets to be spent, and the sell-off of Tencent holdings into the shares of C's company. All of those things add up together to make it a viable purchase and a viable investment. So I don't want to get anyone excited, but from what I've seen, and it's still early days, and I could be completely wrong, and don't hold me to it, but to me, all of the, it all kind of ducks are aligning, and it kind of looks like maybe there's something to it. Because I don't understand why Daniel Levy will be going out to the Bahamas in the first week of January for any reason other than an investment opportunity.
Yeah.
And it looks like Forrest Lee to me makes more sense than anything else.
Absolutely smash that, Sean. I really enjoyed listening to that. Thank you, my man. I really appreciate what you've come to, what you've come with there, and I absolutely love it. So what sort of investment do you think we'd be looking at here, Sean?
Don't know. I've got no idea. No idea. But I don't think it makes. The one thing I would say is that the naming rights, people that are saying that he was interested in naming rights, I've said this to you before. If you're going to buy naming rights for a company, the person who's going to invest in that needs to have some sort of consumer-facing brand, like an Emirates, like an Etihad Airlines, like a Sports Direct, like an Amazon, something that makes sense, so that whenever Tottenham on telly somewhere, the world hears the Amazon Arena, the Sports Direct Arena, whatever, right? The Etihad Arena. I don't think it makes any sense. The companies that this guy owns is a Singaporean, or the two major companies within his corporation. One of them is an e-commerce company. Maybe there's a little bit of relevance there, but it's only in the Singaporean market and the South Asian market. So I don't think that makes much sense. And the other one, they're the makers of a computer game. It doesn't make any sense, right? So
if it's not naming stadium rights, do you think it's to buy the club as a whole or to buy a stake in the club?
Yeah, no, I think it would be to buy a slice of the pie. He's got 11 billion at the moment, but 11 billion, or like most of that, is tied up in the stock that he owns the majority slice of, 57%. If he was to liquidate a lot of that, he'd have to liquidate a massive slice of his ownership of that company to be able to buy Tottenham. So I think what's more likely is that he would. Like I say, I could be completely wrong, mate. So just don't hold me to this. It could be completely wrong. But if he's going to do it, he'll buy 20%, 15% of the company. Maybe put 300 million in, 400 million in. See what happens.
No, look, it's very interesting. Someone that has a background in this sort of stuff to be able to come on and relay it. Absolutely love it, Shawnee. We've 2 super chats to get to. Absolutely brilliant. We've 2 super chats to get to, and then I want you to tell people where they can find you as well. I just want to say I have asked Sean to come on board with this channel and help out and be on as many shows with us as he possibly can, and he has kindly agreed. So you will see a lot more of Sean on this channel going forward. But we have agreed to let him keep his own channel. I'd never make anyone give it up, but no, I will put the link in for Sean's channel as well below. But Sean, the bottom dude, it says you guys are amazing and have a plethora of knowledge. Why don't you do more of football stuff, like an online publishing resource for football fans?
I mean, I've got my own business to bottom due to. I spend a lot of time at the moment on these blogs, but I do have my own. I run my own marketing agency, and I still consult for like companies like Google and things. So that is time, time to be able to write all those things. It's a lot more fun to just talk about things when you can, rather than writing down and documenting this stuff. And so I appreciate the feedback, though. It's very nice of you. But Dave and I are just we're enjoying what we're doing at the moment, right? We're just figuring it out as we go along.
No, absolutely spot on. A lot of people are just here saying that, I appreciate what you've come to the table with here, Shawnee. and it's been going for the last 10 minutes. I just haven't been able to keep up, but absolutely loving it. And Kuva says 2 + 2 + 2 + 2 = 8. You nearly caught me out there, Kuva. I felt that. He says, Sean, hope that helped you out, buddy.
Thanks, mate. Yeah. I ran out of space. I was like, how many 2s have I added there? Two. Yeah. But I want to say, guys, look, listen, don't you can shoot me down if nothing comes of it. If nothing comes of it. Yeah.
If it doesn't happen, don't nail him to the cross. Isn't that right, Sean?
Yeah, it's massive hypothesis, massive speculation. I'm trying to give you a little bit of good news. And I've just, like I say, I've just spent some time crunching, researching who this guy is, looking around, and the fact that he's in the area, it gives me a little bit of excitement to think maybe there's something to it. So, but if there's not, I apologize for getting everyone's hopes up.
No, absolutely. And look, I see people saying they want more of Sean. Like I've already just said, I will give you more of Sean. Do not worry about that. He has agreed to come on and do a lot more streams with myself, Jack, and whatever other guests we get on with them streams, because I absolutely love Shawnee. I absolutely love him. Think he brings great energy, different, fresh perspectives. He sits there. I mean, he had 3 of us the other day not telling him his opinion was crap, but that we disagreed with his opinion. Stuck to it, you know what I mean? And look, this is what I love about him, you know, and he keeps me entertained as well. So we'll definitely be getting a lot more of Shawnee on here. Do not worry about that, guys. But Sean, my man, where can people find you?
Yeah, well, like I say, like Dave was saying, and most of the time you'll find me here. Whenever I can find time, I am going to do some live streams on my own channel, but I'm in no rush to get anything going. I'm not trying to compete with anybody or step on anyone's toes. I just love talking Tottenham with all of you. Where you can find me is Spurs Talk Show, but I've realized that if you type in Spurs Talk Show into YouTube and unless you put it all as one word, you don't find me. So it needs to be all one word, Spurs Talk Show. You can also find me on Twitter at Spurs Talk Show. Oh, you put it in the link.
Don't even need to type it in, Shawnee. Come on, I got you covered, my man.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, you can find me over there. I've got 106, I think 105 subscribers. All thanks to you guys on this channel and the fellas over at Tottenham Tantrum Gold. But you can also find me on We Are Tottenham. I'm going to do a few things on We Are Tottenham TV over January and February. But my main home feels like it's here and on Tottenham Tantrum Gold. And looking forward to the debate with Daigle. Make sure you put that in your diary. It's going to be fiery, I'm sure. It's going to be fun.
By the way,
my God,
I watch a lot of you, right? Whenever you're on other channels and stuff, and I was watching your stream today, and then I watch a lot of Dig, and I was watching him on We Are Tottenham TV today. And you know what I find hilarious? The two of you call each other out the whole time. It's so fun. I absolutely love it, but I also know that you love each other. You're both in a good place, and that's what I find so funny about it. It's like you want to hate each other, but you can't. It's hilarious.
No, listen, honestly, so I don't know. I've never met Brian, but we speak on WhatsApp, and I know about what he's like. He's come home from Canada to see his friend Bob Spur, you know, and I know I've learned enough about his character to know what he prioritizes in life: loyalty, reliability, friendship, trust, and he's passionate about Tottenham, and all of those things are far, far, far more important to me when I analyze a character than whether someone agrees or disagrees with me about some irrelevant person. Like, to be honest, I don't like Daniel Levy. I don't care about Daniel Levy. Like, I couldn't give a shit about him, but I'll just defend the argument in that particular case. But in terms of like me and Brian, we'll definitely have heated moments in the debate, but it's all irrelevant in the grand scheme of things, because as a person, I think the guy's an absolute hero and a champion. So.
No, it is. It's going to be absolutely fascinating. But look, guys, that's it from us here today. We will be back tomorrow at some stage. Not sure what time yet, but stay tuned. And then, of course, Sunday, we'll be back here from about 10 o'clock in the morning for a bit of a build-up to the FA Cup game, and then the watch-along as well. And then I have the pre-match pump-up when We Are Tottenham TV. Let's see how Sean is getting on here now. With the subscribers, let's see if we manage to boost them up to here today, the Irish Hotspur Army. And you should be very proud of yourself. He's at 124 subscribers as we speak.
Hey! Wow!
You should be very, very proud of yourself.
Thank you all so much. That's amazing, guys. I'm humbled. Very cool. Thank you all.
And look, because we're getting all some love and I'm getting jealous here, so Spurs have to do is help me out. He says, David, this channel is the best, brother.
100%.
Come on, you Spurs. I appreciate it. And HSLTHFC said, David is a fun guy. I try to be. My missus thinks I'm fun, and some others do. So I hope I am. But look, guys, I want to say a massive thank you to Matty Hayes for giving up his time. A massive thank you to our finance resident expert here, Sean. Absolutely loving what he came to the show with today. You will be seeing a lot more of him around here. And most importantly, a massive thank you to you guys who continue to view in religiously. These channel, like my channel, and I'd say the same with every other channel. You guys, the fans, like Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, you are the lifeblood of these channels. So thank you very much for an hour and 44 minutes of your time. A massive thank you to everyone who has smashed that like button. A massive thank you to everybody who has smashed that subscribe button. And a massive thank you to everybody who helps this channel financially to keep it going. Absolutely brilliant stuff. And hopefully you're enjoying the content. The numbers say you are of late, so absolutely loving life. But look, make sure you smash that like button, smash that subscribe button if you are new to the channel, and get your comments underneath. Let us know what you think of what Sean brought to the table. Let us what you think of Matty and what he was saying about all of the transfers. And let us know how big you think Son Injury is going to be. As always, come on, you Spurs. In Conte we trust. Levy, open your checkbook.